At Relentless Digital, we believe in breaking barriers and driving innovation. That's why we are extremely proud to sponsor the Power Women of the Trades podcast, supporting the voices and success of women in the home service industry. Together, we're creating a future where talent shines, regardless of gender, and diversity thrives. Join our journey at relentless-digital.com and always be relentless in your pursuit of excellence.
This episode of Power Women of the Trades is also brought to you by Forrest Perry of Forrest Perry Digital Marketing. Want to generate more leads for your service business? Trust his team to deliver quality new customer leads and protect your brand online. Check out perrymarketing.com today.
Hello everyone. We want to give a quick shout out to our amazing partner, Rilla, the game changer in the home service industry. Rilla's virtual ride-along software means no more physical ride-alongs. With Rilla, you can coach your team virtually 100 times faster and boost your close sale rates like never before. Don't miss out. Join the movement today and watch your sales soar. Visit rilla.com/PWT to learn more.
Welcome to Power Women of the Trades podcast. This show is all about breaking barriers and changing the game. Our guests will feature some of today's most successful female entrepreneurs and other advocates of our industry as well. Because if there's one thing we know for sure, female-led entrepreneurship drives change on multiple levels. We want to empower women in the trade industry like you so you can maximize your potential, stay balanced, achieve long-term success, and claim ownership over your life.
These are just a few of the voices shaping the future of the trades in 2025. Their stories remind us that leadership, resilience, and growth have many faces. We're honored to share them with you, and we hope you'll keep listening.
That's why it's so important, I think, especially as women, to get yourself out of your comfort zone and be in different crowds.
Yes.
You cannot be around the same group of people because you're not going to learn the same things from different people, right? And so it's just really, really important that you put yourself out there into the different crowds, into different programs, into different groups of people, because you never know what can be put into your lap and where you're going to grow from there.
Yeah. And I also just think it's because we're both women, literally in a man's world, and just easy to connect over that and the craziness that we have to deal with every day.
And we question, are we really good enough to be holding the position we're doing or the job that we're doing for the company? And even more so in this field, I mean, I've come up against it where, just like you were mentioning with Cassie, getting questioned, does Kaylee really know what she's doing? Well, yeah, the same thing I've had happen to me in the past too, where, people would say, well, Heather, she's young. I don't want to talk to Heather, I'd rather talk to you, a man of the company. And it kind of gets in our head and it can be defeating. And I think for all women in this industry, we all have moments of, self-reflection and trying to figure out, how we can bring our best self, and, just never giving up on, the role that you want to hold is so important. And I know there's so many other women that we've interviewed on this podcast that have questioned themselves, and it's empowering to be able to send messages out to women in our industry that, the older you get, the more experience you have, but just because you're young doesn't mean you can't do the job. Just because you're a woman doesn't mean that you don't belong there. And I think continuing to make sure that that message is heard is setting the stage for us going forward, and bringing more women into this industry.
In a different capacity. So transitioning to a woman-owned and operated heating and air company, like right out the gate, somebody, oh my gosh, so bad, like put on my Facebook, it looks like you're doing well. It looks like you haven't missed a meal in a while. And I'm like, what? Like crying and sobbing. And I'm like, that's been my pain point my whole life. Like, really, dude? Like, would you put that on a man's HVAC page? Like, and my husband's like, you know what? You're getting noticed. So, you're beautiful and you're strong. I'm like, okay, and gosh darn it, people like me or what? Like, just Saturday Night Live, Right. I was the only female and the only one for a long time. I had to overeducate myself. And if people were getting 5 or 6 estimates, I wanted to be the smartest person so that they didn't just remember that it was the girl that came out, that I gave them the most information. Yeah. And I feel like I can totally resonate. Like, I would look in the backyard, like, should we move the air conditioner? I'd hate it if it was my backyard. And so many customers appreciated that. They're like, nobody else even talked about it. I'm like, I think as women, we look at things just a little differently. And there's huge space for men and women. And I think together we can make this wonderful
So, because
That's
that's
awesome.
like a hot question sometimes, because especially with this podcast, we've had some feedback of, why don't you talk to people that actually do the work? And, we've tried, FYI, and we're still here. If you would love to talk, often people tell us no because they don't want the spotlight. But I love the heck out of that. So you got your license. And that's what I was going to say, because we've had a few guests on the show that, maybe had no experience, bought a company, which is so like, I remember talking to Rachel Health. She was literally like, I had no experience and I bought a plumbing or a HVAC company. And I was like, why?
She was a great interview.
She doesn't work in the field, right? And so, and I've never worked a day in the field. I'm going to get my license, and I can now. I have enough hours to, as far as like the experience, but like I've worked some, let me back up. I've done some apprentice things for Oscar. Okay. But I'm not ever going to run my own truck, but I know I could test and become a journeyman and all of that. But I don't aspire to do that in the field, if that makes sense. So I love that you did that. And is that how it started? Like you the plumber at first?
It is how it started. So I went through all of the challenges for the first 6 months until I hired my first employee, which was male. So, everyone always asks, they're like, is it hard? Do people treat you different? Whatever. Like, I always, even as a kid, like I hung out with the boys. I did like extreme sports, snowboarding, skateboarding, surfing. So I'm used to being around the boys. So I never looked at myself, oh, like I'm a girl in a man's world. No, it's just, I'm doing a job, mechanically inclined. So for me, it was every woman that I went to their home, they loved that I was a woman. So that was a super easy sale. So it was great for me as a business owner. There were some men that would be like, oh, you're going to come to my house? Like, and they're just guys. They can't help it. It's what it is. It doesn't bother me or faze me. But then there were the very select few that it's like, I had to earn their respect.
Right.
And I was like, I'd show up and they'd be like, oh, you're going to fix my water heater? Well, you didn't fix it and you called me to fix it. So do you want me to fix it?
Yeah. Right.
And then after that, that's when I earned their respect for life. And I still have some of those customers that I was able to gain their respect and, they're lifers now, so
love
that it was awesome. I love working in the field with guys. They're pretty easygoing. They're always joking and having fun. I don't know. It's a smelly job, but it's not that bad of a job.
Right.
We hire, and I specifically say this, from management down to the technician level, and I participate in any interview that I can across our entire organization. We hire for grit. Absolutely. Right. And a lot of these people that are stuck and are trying to get their license over the line, they just don't know what to do. If they knew what to do, they would have done it by now. Right. So you have to validate that their hours have been submitted. You have to find out how much and how long it's going to take them to get there. And then you spend time helping them. And we build that into our support staff with our HR department and stay engaged with them from a GM level down so that they're already used to having that engagement with the office. You can't really do that if you take them from infancy. They're just
not trying to go with that, but there is a lot of opportunity in this world that's out there that will remain, whether AI comes into our space or not, that will remain needed with people. And factories like robots and AI and those types of things are not new to factories. Factories have been doing those types of things for a long time, but there's still people operating them. And there's just a lot of opportunity that kind of gets missed or looked over by the blue collar workers of our nation, but are actually doing really big things and creating really massive careers inside of those positions.
I love what you're saying, because here's something that I bring into whenever I speak. Now, I do a lot of appliances. We use a lot of appliance references and Lowe's since I was there for 15 years. So I apologize right now. But 72% of appliances are purchased by women. Think bolts, right? If you look at warranty administration jobs, 78% are fulfilled by women. These are jobs, right? But less than 25% of executives, leaders, or business owners are female. So think about it. It was like, wait a minute, and is your math wrong? And it could be, at times, but it's not. women are in the call center, they're paying claims, they are, doing administrative work, they're, running down complaints, things like that. They're not moving up into decision-making roles. So that's what we want to change.
Yeah. And I think that the groups like yours and the groups like that we see in our space a lot as well are trying to change that, but it takes an adaptation of I can say, for example, in my own personal company, I know that that's not the truth, right? That's not how that goes anymore in my company. But I know that the other 10 companies that are trying to be like us down the road, that's not their story.
And my uncle retired in 2014. My dad brought him out, and I started working in college. My whole life. I mean, I was a kid in the trades, like coming in here, labeling postcards, answering phones in high school. Came on in college, working summers, was doing accounting and dispatching. We had like maybe 20 employees at that point. And so I was a senior in college and kind of just working through doing interviews. And my mom kind of put it in my ear, like, hey, have you ever thought about coming on full time in the business? And at that point, she actually wanted me to be a comfort advisor. And I was like, no, I mean, this is 2005. And I was like, I really hadn't. And I was like, I could see the potential in the industry. They had taken me, we were airtime members. So I'd been to expos, saw these huge companies, saw these huge revenue numbers. I mean, there was companies back in 2005 doing, $10, $15 million. And I was just like, whoa. And they're making how much percentage or profit on that? $10 to $15 or $1 million. And so I was just like, my eyes were kind of open to the potential in the industry. And so came back full time in 2005, just kind of like doing everything, accounting, moved to dispatch, moved to CSR manager. And now just been running full time now for 20 years. My husband joined on full time 2020. So we had our first child. He was a high school athletic director.
Oh, wow.
And came on and so quit his full-time job, came on full-time. So it was kind of like, at that point I knew I needed some more support. We are starting to start a family. And so now my dad's still actively involved. My mom works from home doing the books since 2010. So she hasn't actually gotten in the office in 15 years. And then my husband and I, so.
Experiences there. And now I'm with Colair, and we get to train with CEO Warrior, and it's a really great practice group. Sandy is one of my mentors there, and she's really great. And I've just been learning so much about the industry and really excited to get to meet and network with other women in the trades and really help me feel myself like I'm growing. I wasn't always particularly making great choices in my life. Before I had my son, was struggling with addiction, and that was something that was very hard for me. And then whenever I found out that I was going to be a mom, I made the decision that the choices that I was making weren't going to be fitting for being a good mom. And that's when I started really, kicking ass at the answering service that I was at. And I told Donna, who was my boss there, she's really still one of my great mentors and I love her so much. I told her that, if she just gave me a chance, started putting me in for more hours, gave me a role with some real responsibility, not just, taking calls and saying we'll call you back and coming in part-time, but really give me that chance, that I would just impress her and show her what I was worth so that I could support my family. And, that's backtracking a little bit, but just.
Right. And again, it has to do with mentors that I think believe in somebody and see something in somebody. And I just always was soaking everything in I could. And Cassie, we talked earlier, but like earlier on in SVE days, I remember you were a part of our organization.
Yeah.
And part of our name is Evolution for a reason too, because we also have this contract behind us. So we're able to constantly evolve our training, but it hasn't always been perfect for every contractor. And I think that the time that we met was when we were working and started working with all of the Carrier and Bryant contractors through Watsco. And then you were part of
that.
And that's also, and I love that also. And that's one of the reasons that I became part of Women in HVACR, is wanting to be with more women in the community and help, other women leaders rise up, and find, other ways like that as well.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. The mom shame and the guilt, it'll hit every so often. But, as the kids get older, we have to really look inside ourselves as women and say, what's next for us? And, you know, why not now? Because I'm only getting older. It's not like I'm getting younger. So I really got to, you know, be able to take the chance on myself.
I just want to lead by example and show other girls that there's other opportunities out there.
That was supposed to be the secret. Is the hot take is there's no silver bullet.
You are the silver bullet.
We were just... This has been Power Women of the Trades. Like what you hear so far? Leave us a review in Apple. And make sure to listen to our other episodes wherever you enjoy listening to your podcasts. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.